Yeah, good luck tomorrow. Oh boy, the next couple days will be very, very windy.
You had fire rolling across the street, almost like horizontally. It was just tremendous.
Taking a look ahead to tomorrow, those strong winds is why we're once again talking about these red flag warnings.
The calm before that windstorm.
This is not a drill. This is an actual public safety emergency.
I was trying to get people's attention. You have to get out.
Again, low humidity, and we have dry vegetation, just a perfect combination to start a fire, so just be extra careful.
Please God, save us.
Like a football field of fire, just engulfing everything in its way.
It's like Armageddon is here, and you're just trying to get out.
Get out of here. Oh my God.
All your memories gone. It's all burned. It's all ash. Our home was in Pacific Palisades, right close to the downtown. I work out of my house and my dog was asking to get out. So we walked out and I just walked around the corner to walk our normal dog route. And as I'm turning around the corner, all my neighbors are looking up at the hillside and we can see a plume of smoke. Clouds are really strange.
A wildfire that started 3 miles from Sarah's house now hurtled down the hillside. Wildfires happen regularly in California, but rarely in winter.
This was not a typical fire. It was rapid and it was fast moving.
8 months of drought meant the ground was tinder dry.
Currently it's a 10-acre brush fire and heavy fuel on top of a ridge line, but it is pushing directly towards Palisades.
We could see the planes dumping water. They flew right over the houses in front of us, and we kept thinking, they're gonna stop the fire.
They couldn't stop the fire. In half an hour, it was 20 times bigger. The fire was now just a mile away from the Palisades, home to celebrities and movie stars.
You literally can see the flames getting huge and burning down the hill.
Seasonal Santa Ana winds, which travel from desert areas east of California, fanned the flames. By late morning, gusts reached 60 miles per hour.
We didn't get any information on the TV. It was all our friends telling us, don't do this, don't do that. My neighbors next door grew up in the Palisades, and he kept saying to us, you need to calm down because this type of fire happens in this area, and in order for it to hit our houses, it would have to burn down the town.
The fires continued to advance, and residents began to flee.
We just pulled over here in the live truck, and you can see the dark sky right behind me just filled with this smoke. These fire trucks right behind us trying to get through all this traffic.
The cars are stopped on our street here. There's a fire the other direction, so that's the way towards town that we would escape.
You've got gridlock on Palisades Drive. People are driving down both sides.
The firemen are bulldozing all these cars that block their way.
By late afternoon, the fire had reached Sarah's street.
There was like elderly couples with dogs out there in denial that it would ever hit the town.
Everything is catching fire here. Trash bins, shrubs, trees, houses. The smoke is unbearable at this point.
People are panicking and fire is consuming cars.
Come on, guys, we gotta go.
I was like, we've gotta go no matter whether we're sitting in traffic, whether we have to run to the beach, whatever may be, we had to just go.
As Sarah tried to escape, 40 miles across town in the suburb of Altadena, Cheryl Koo was driving back from work.
On the freeway, I have a clear view of the mountainside, and I saw an orange glow, a very small orange glow in the mountain, and I took a double take.
High winds meant Southern California Edison, the local electricity company, had cut the supply to homes because of the risk of downed telegraph poles starting fires. But it hadn't turned off the power at high voltage transmission towers in the hills behind Cheryl's house.
I was on the sofa, relaxed, with the dogs in my lap. We didn't have power, so I just had a little small lamp, and just waiting for Cheryl to come home.
I was probably about 3 blocks away from the house. That's when I discovered that it really was a fire.
She opens the door. It was not the voice that I'm used to hearing.
Hey babe, I need you to come out here right now. We have a very big problem.
What? And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The base of the tower, right there, was on fire.
Holy shit! Oh no! Oh no!
We ran back in the house to start packing things, and every trip to the car gave me an opportunity to check on the fire. And it was getting exponentially worse every time.
Oh my god! Oh my god! No!
I'm gonna spray the roof down.
I don't know if we have time. You want to just do it?
Yeah.
I had heard that spraying the house down with water could help. I've heard that has saved homes in the past. I turn the water on, I start spraying, and the water is barely hitting the eaves. The wind is just taking it.
The winds were already 70 miles an hour. I knew that we had to go, and we had to go quickly.
I had taken my phone out one last time, and I filmed the outside of the house.
Please God, save us. Save our house. Please. Please, God, please.
And I just started to cry.
Let's go, we're going.
It was a moment of panic for the entire neighborhood. There were hundreds of cars trying to get out. Armageddon is here and you're just trying to get out.
Let's go, babe.
Then we'd run into blocked roads because trees had fallen down.
By midnight, emergency services had received more than 3,000 calls. Firefighting aircraft were called back to base.
We are going to be grounding all aircraft based on the wind conditions right now.
Fire crews were quickly overwhelmed, and surging demand for water caused hydrants to run dry.
Our folks are starting to report that they're running out of water in the hydrant systems.
The gathering firestorm now met little resistance.
It just kept going and going, like a football field of fire, just engulfing everything in its way. I had decided I needed to jump in the car and go see for myself. It was unreal. In a matter of a minute, I saw someone in front of their house with their head in their hands because their house was on fire. I saw someone who had their home completely demolished, but their detached garage made it. And so they were pulling things out of their garage and loading their car. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was so horrific.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh man.
I was literally like seeing like almost like a, you know, a war had broken out.
By the time they were eventually contained, 2 major fires and 3 smaller ones had burned an area the size of Washington, D.C. 16,000 homes and businesses had been destroyed. 29 people had been killed.
It is so unrecognizable. It almost doesn't feel like where we lived before. But just the extent of it too, there's so little left standing. It's just so complete. My name is Ben Hamilton.
And what's your job, Ben?
I'm a climate scientist. I work at the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
And what's behind us?
The remnants of my house are behind us. I didn't think we were on the front line of climate change, otherwise I wouldn't have bought a house here. I feel kind of like a terrible climate scientist buying a house, putting my family in a place that was so at risk, but in reflection, when it happened, it kind of makes sense, right? This is how we expect climate change to play out. The way that it's going to express and affect people is through events like this that are going to increase in how severe they are, how often they happen, and then where they happen. My kids' bedrooms were on this side of the house. You can see their bed frames that are now mangled from the heat, which is kind of surprising to me that the heat could do that. My 9-year-old desperately wants something that's recognizable. So I'm trying to see if I can find anything in there.
Seeing aerial footage of the whole Altadena, a real ugliness has happened. Altadena was beautiful. Altadena was green. My family was very close in 5 neighboring houses.
Have all of those homes been lost?
Yes, every last one. Just seeing my grandmother's home and my mom's home and my childhood home, like this is, it's devastating.
I'm begging anyone to help put out this fire.
A neighbor, he was actually on the news and he was begging the firefighters, please, somebody come.
Please help. I mean, based on the size of the fire to the east of my house, it probably will take 5 to 10 minutes for a hose to put it out.
But nobody ever came. You put your faith in firefighters and the government doing something to prevent something like this from happening, and it just felt like we were left to fend for ourselves at that moment.
In the aftermath of the disaster, the Los Angeles County Fire Department said there are not enough firefighters in LA County to address separate fires of this magnitude.
This is a regularly scheduled Board of Fire Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, December 17th.
In December, local officials appointed by LA's Democrat mayor met to discuss the fire department's resources.
Our next speaker is Freddie Escobar.
On the agenda, how a $17 million cut to the operational budget would affect fire services.
And I'm going to make a bold statement. I'm not scared. I'm going to say what people can't say. If we cut one position, if we close one station, if we close one resource, the residents of Los Angeles are going to pay the ultimate sacrifice, and someone will die.
Nobody wanted this. It's unfortunate that it's taken this disaster to address the issues that we've been saying for decades, that the Los Angeles Fire Department is a woefully understaffed fire department, and we're asking our leaders to make it a priority. Now, the question was asked if we would have had everything we wanted in place, would we be able to mitigate this incident? Well, I can tell you, more is better. It would have helped.
The threats we face from wildfires get worse every year. We are straining our department's resources beyond the brink, and we cannot continue on this path. Just to serve average daily demand in the city of Los Angeles, we need at least 62 new fire stations. Not 5, not 10, not 25, 62. A lot of times we talk about the storm of the century, a once-in-a-lifetime weather event, and then we see it happen again and again. So I don't know how much longer a once-in-a-lifetime event is how we prepare for these sorts of things.
The mayor's office says it has increased the fire department's budget to record amounts and delivered the first raise that firefighter heroes have seen in years.
This is like a set of a movie. It's disastrous, and it's gonna happen again. Make no mistakes, it's gonna happen again. I'm not a weather person, but I've been on this planet long enough that it has changed. It's drier. Do I believe in climate change? Absolutely.
Today it was confirmed that last year was the hottest ever recorded. Temperatures were 1.6 degrees higher than the pre-industrial average. Scientists have warned that the Paris Agreement target of 1.5 degrees to avoid the worst effects of global heating was in danger of being permanently breached.
We've had a stable climate, more or less globally speaking, within a very, very narrow range for the whole history of civilization, and we're about to blow through that. Climate is changing all over, and it's just going to get worse.
One person who has a record of being skeptical about climate change is President Trump.
With the global warming and that, a lot of it's a hoax. It's a hoax. I mean, it's a money-making industry, okay? It's one of the great scams of all time. People aren't buying it anymore.
I don't know where he gets his information. He's dead wrong. The scientific community globally has reached a consensus repeatedly that climate change is real, it's serious, and it's going to have harmful effects on human beings, and that is already occurring.
Scientists say climate change made the LA fires worse. But on a visit to the city in late January, President Trump didn't publicly mention climate change. Instead, he blamed the disaster on lack of water and poor forest management, failing to clear fallen branches and dead undergrowth.
Got to remove it. You just can't have it. I see it even now. I saw the fire. We flew over it, and you got a lot of dry stuff. It's bone dry.
On his first day back as president, Donald Trump signed an executive order to remove the United States from the Paris Agreement.
The next item here is the withdrawal from the Paris Climate Treaty.
I think the main effect of it is not what it's going to do to hinder progress on climate change, because most countries in the world that are big emitters have forward-looking policies on how they're going to bring their emissions down. But what is important is the U.S. as a leader, the U.S. as predictably stable in the international arena. The withdrawal from the Paris Agreement undermines that.
We think that people want to hear great hope and optimism, that we're really going to thrive and continue to grow and can be very hopeful about the future. And I think this event in particular has really made it clear that's not going to be the case. I think that has been obvious to me for a number of years, but this really hits home now that we really need to find a way to adapt and to protect what is most important to us.
We do not invest enough in infrastructure to combat fires. Period, full stop.
Lawyer Gerald Singleton is representing more than 1,600 people who lost homes and loved ones in the fire that began in Altadena. He's suing Southern California Edison, the local electricity company, which he blames for starting the fire.
When there's a break in the electricity and it jumps free, that's where you get those arcing events, which are essentially what looks like fire shooting out of it.
Gerald Singleton believes there's evidence pointing to the fire starting in Eaton Canyon, close to Edison's electrical transmission towers.
The evidence is about as clear as you can get at this stage that Edison caused it. There's actually several videos, but one in particular shows the fire starting.
This footage was taken at 6:10 from a CCTV camera on a petrol station forecourt in Altadena.
You see a couple of instances where there are flashes, and then you see the arcing going down to the ground and the fire starting. We also have witnesses who saw the exact same thing.
It's a very large utility tower. I would say, a quarter mile from our house. It's definitely visible right there. It's in the video, you can see it. And, the base of it was in flames.
Power lines have started wildfires in the past, so in high winds, electricity companies cut off the supply. Edison told the LA Times it didn't do so on the 7th of January, as wind speeds didn't exceed a threshold of between 60 and 80 miles per hour.
The warnings that they received about this powerful windstorm coming to de-energize their towers, and they did nothing. One can only conclude that this was something that could have been prevented.
Gerald Singleton also believes that the fire could have been prevented if Edison had invested more in insulating its high-voltage power lines.
Typically, the large transmission lines do not have any rubber insulating on them.
What's the rationale for that?
The official rationale is that they are insulated by air. The real reason is that it costs money, and that's why over the years we've had so many problems in terms of fires and other disasters.
Over the last decade, wildfires are estimated to have cost Edison around $10 billion in settlements, fines, and damages.
We had fires that we sued Edison for in 2017, 2018, 2020, 2022, and then this past one here. And the majority of those fires involved fatalities, some of them large numbers of fatalities. So Edison really has not done a good job of adapting to this new reality.
Southern California Edison says its heart goes out to everyone affected by the wildfires, and that safety is its top priority. It says that the cause of the Eaton wildfire remains under investigation. It's exploring every possibility, including the possibility that SCE's equipment was involved, and that last year it spent more than $1.8 billion mitigating wildfire risks, including inspecting and upgrading transmission and distribution infrastructure more frequently than required by state regulators.
We've lost an entire community. Constituents have scattered. People are living in hotels and motels.
Jeffrey and Cheryl's house was one of the few to survive, and in February they were allowed back. But they're worried it may have been contaminated by toxic materials.
A lot of homes in our area are older, 40s, 50s, 60s. The materials back then were asbestos and now are in the air. It's going to take a tremendous amount of time for our community to heal and rebuild.
People are heartbroken and devastated, and the long-term trauma impacts of this are going to be very, very real.
I can go to bed, but I wake up at 3 o'clock shaking, and I'm awake. Then I'm awake. When I'm sleeping is when it all has a chance to come out.
Sarah's now renting an apartment in downtown LA, where she lives with her 2 daughters.
If your house burns down, you're still paying your mortgage, and you're paying your rental. All of that equity I put in, which basically is my retirement money, is lost. You know, now I'm gonna have to pay back the mortgage, which is well above what my compensation will be from my insurance.
The insurance industry's total bill could reach $40 billion, and many fear the disaster will make it much harder to get home insurance in the future.
I'm under no illusion that as soon as they're able to, they will drop our coverage for our family. As of right now, the plan is to rebuild. That does set up a little bit of an internal conflict for me, thinking as a scientist and maybe recognizing that the probability of this happening again suggests that we should not rebuild here.
For those who remain, learning how to live alongside the dangers posed by climate change will be key to avoiding similar tragedy in the years ahead.
We know that there are best practices when it comes to hardening homes against wildfire risk. We have to bake those into how we recover as a more resilient community.
It's too easy to quit, too easy just to give up. It's going to be challenging, it's going to be difficult, it's going to be probably the hardest thing that any of us have ever had to endure and encounter, but we will rebuild.
Is overwhelming. But I also know that this community is extraordinary. We are going to stick together, and we're going to right the ship as best we can.